All right, let's see what Myron has to say to this transsexual person about marriage and gender roles and all this. I believe this isn't gonna be a productive conversation considering Myron and his bigoted takes all the time. There we go. I really hope he says something clever instead of something bigoted. Yeah, look at the background right there. You see how disgusting these crowds are that are watching Myron? He has a lot of supporters out there that think being edgy is funny, so just trigger warning, prepare. This is gonna be a very, very bigoted perspective from Myron.
Make an authority claim and saying like, well, you're not married, so you can't talk about this. I'm trying to explain to you, okay, a man's value is based on building a name, building a legacy, then a woman gets the privilege of sharing that last name.
That's tradition.
Okay.
That's not
so
actuality
that's how it,
anymore.
That's how,
not what a lot of women want.
Can you stop interrupting?
That's
like,
tradition.
this is painful.
That's tradition. Everything that you have to say is like fallacy and ignorance. Like, it's all tradition. We are in 2026. Like, it is not what you were born into 40 years ago.
Who's up next?
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. I believe like many Americans are beginning to push back against harmful ideologies like the ones that we see today, like where just spew rhetoric instead of like actually problem solve. A second ago, I believe it was a woman up here who asked you about your stance on it and why you choose to focus more on our social issues instead of things like and yeah, of course. And your answer to that was something to the effect because like that's why you have been almost censored or maybe shadow banned on social media, which I do want to push back against a little bit because Candace Owens, which is someone that I have one of like the utmost respect for, she actually is, I guess, marketed as an anti-Semitic person, and she has like the world's top podcast. So I think it's definitely, she's a symbol that it's possible to advocate for something that you are actually passionate about that's going to change the world as opposed to like just create stronger issues. Which leads me right into my question. Your appeal to like your audience reminds me a lot of Trump's like populist approach. It was always the elite versus the people. The elite versus the people. That's too tall. The elite versus the people. Like it's the people against the elite. When really in your case it's like young American men against. I think a lot of American men, they were able to see. A lot of American men, including people like myself, trusted in Donald Trump, and they wanted to kind of see him like make America great again. When I first heard that stance, I thought, well, there's nothing really wrong with making America great again until I understood like what exactly that entailed. But to get to the fruit of my question, why should a lot of the American men here trust you when you embody the leadership role and the ideology that the person who let them down the most embodied?
Okay. So to first address your thing about Israel and Candace Owens, etc., I think it's important to note that I've been talking about the problem with Israel and Jewish power in America way before October 7th.
Yeah.
After October 7th happened, then it became more acceptable to be able to criticize Zionism and Jewish power.
Yeah.
But I was doing it way before like it was okay. So that's why I got censored. I devote quite a bit of time to talking about that because I have two different shows. I got Fresh Offend. I also do my debrief show, which is more political. Do them both like almost every day. Now, as far as like the populism that you're referring to, look, if you have a certain ideology and you're able to speak for the masses that can't speak, what ends up happening is a lot of people back you because the things that I say, a lot of men think or agree with or feel, but they can never say because they don't want to lose their job, lose access to certain resources or whatever. So I think the ideologies that I have are not necessarily the same as Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of them are similar when it comes to just like his own look on toxic masculinity, the anti-feminist movement. Like so when I say you have similar ideologies, that's the ideologies that I'm referring to. I guess like the answer that I'm still like missing in the question is a lot of American men here, I'm sure they're like 18 through 22. By the time that they are age, like 37 through 40, they are like wanting the American dream. That is maybe 2 cars, a four room home. They want a wife. Like, why should they trust in a person who does not embody anything that they want in their future? Like,
because I teach them how to look at the world from an objective standpoint and not believe the lies that they're told. And I tell them you got to make money, You got to get strong. You got to be competent. You got to have your stuff together. And then you choose if you want to have that family and be in a position where you're actually deciding what you want to do versus like being told what you need to do.
Yeah.
So that's
But
why
my
I tell
concern
guys
is that young men aren't being told that they can't, that they shouldn't be successful. Actually, in America now, they're being encouraged to be successful, and it's not because of rhetoric like yours, but it's just where we are in our time with like inflation, et cetera, just where we are in our economy.
I would actually disagree with that, but that's fine. I mean, you might not watch my content, but like we actually dedicate quite a bit to teaching guys how to invest in real estate, how to do invest in indexes, cryptocurrency, all that other stuff. I have a whole show devoted to helping guys with that.
Okay. I guess the last thing that I want to say is I believe that we can exercise like our freedoms. I believe in the First Amendment, whether it's for me or against me. I disagree with almost everything you say. I agree with a lot of you say like when it comes to the economy, but maybe like more social issues. I just think it's kind of. But I think that we're able to exercise our freedoms without like ostracizing and exiling like from in group context. I also do want to say to the
I don't think we should have the right to vote.
Okay. This also is not like
All right, so starting off with the point, he thinks women don't have the right to vote. It's his bigoted perspective because he fears an opinion that's different than his. The opinion, of course, is going to be more humane. Logically speaking, his idea that men are the ones that need help is kind of him reinforcing, or it is, it's not kind of, but it is reinforcing a lot of the patriarchal norms. He believes that men are being oppressed because women are getting more rights, and as women get more rights, they start to challenge a lot of these bigoted men who are not as smart as they think they are. They're not as strong as they think they are. They're not as connected as they think they are. And so now they're seeing a lot more independent women start to pick men and uplift men, and it makes them feel emasculated. A lot of these people that feel emasculated are oftentimes the ones that are trying to fight for their team, like a team sports idea. Uh, a lot of the bigoted perspectives are out of fear. Myron specifically says he's trying to help uplift men when a lot of men are unaccountable, as harsh as that may sound. A lot of them don't understand they're the ones that need to change in order to earn the respect of a lot of women and men around them. Oftentimes, a lot of men will shift off the blame and say, you also do this, but that doesn't entail your forgiveness or your adequate behavior being accepted in society. Because a lot of the time, when you try to cop out by saying other people do that, unless you look up to that person, you're kind of saying you're the same as that person, or you're looking up to them. Because as soon as you compare yourself to someone else who is doing the same thing, you are going to admit that they are just as bad as you. So any critique you throw toward that person, like women, for example, you say women are just as cruel as men, so men should be in charge. It's sort of admitting, or it is admitting defeat off the bat because they're just as capable as you are. And if they copy men's tactics, no matter how cruel you see it is, this is what men did to, in their perspective, civilize women and control women. So when women do the same thing and we accept it and we don't go to war for it, we don't fight for it because it's mainly activism or just changing yourself as a human being, a lot of the times women's behavior can be seen as extremely cruel or disgusting, even though if a man does it, it is seen the same way, which is also women's sort of wake up call too, is that you're not supposed to be equal to the men that oppressed you, but better than them. And to be better than them is to is to evolve past their ignorance, evolve past their bigotry. So a lot of these men seeing women equal them make give them fear is because that's how women felt their whole lives when they had to fight and then survive as an independent woman, because a lot of the time when you fight to be a better person, you're taking the high road, and that high road oftentimes mean you're trying to aim for more humane condition rather than a exploitative one that pushes people down or makes you feel better for every single person you push down. This is why a lot of men partake in a lot of bigoted and misogynistic humor, because they have not yet learned what it means to be a real man. They're still learning, because to be a real man is not a term that's real, is to be a real human being, to be a real humane person in their perspective. And so a lot of women may not be able to match men because they're trying to be better than men. It oftentimes looks like they are lesser. So when you try to establish a connection with a lot of these people that are bigoted patriarchal men, they will try to push you down in order to make themselves feel better and ignore the fact that women that are matching their energy are trying to teach them this is how cruel and idiotic you're ignorant you are, and it'll go right over their head. Women are again just trying to show you you are just as cruel, and if that's what you want to be treated as, they will treat you the same. And to better them and to be better than men, it means that you're going to have to try to talk to them in care and understanding, which a lot of them take advantage as weakness because they're very competitive in a very brutalist way. So the perspective again is that we're trying to be more humane. We're not trying to go back to the ways of old where we're going to be all perceived as just animalistic or disgusting or inhumane overall, and the tribal just turn into a very brutal perspective. So, um, I don't think men are being pushed down considering thousands of years of history prove we're on top. I still do believe in the dynamic that black and brown men are treated the same as women and women worse than them because the hierarchy always says labor or warfare means you're worth more. And if you're a woman, a lot of these patriarchal men think you're a supported role. And that's oftentimes what slaves were seen as, a supportive role. So when slaves were freed and people of color were finally given somewhat respect, not a lot, but somewhat respected, a lot of the times that hierarchical shift is uncomfortable to people. And a lot of the times, a lot of the people who are freed from slavery are freed from oppression because they just barely started to understand what equal rights are because humanity robbed them of it. They will try to even push down women as well, which is why I believe women are always the lowest of the ladder because again even the slave had a woman that he told to know her place or to get back to the kitchen or do as they're told. This is why a lot of women have a lot more harsh perspectives and harsh realities they have to face.
I when I hear you say that, I'm like, wait, what the hell does he mean by that? It's like I always hear these buzzwords, like this person is a conspiracy theorist, or this person is progressive. Like, what does the word progressive mean? It just means that someone who is able to like learn and move on from the 1800s. It's not the 1800s anymore. Like, women can vote, women can get jobs, women are in group now. So like, we'll never be at another time where we aren't able to prioritize education. And I don't think that a lot of men here. I mean, I don't know. I don't think a lot of men here don't want that for their. I think they want their women to be educated. I think they want their women to be able to contribute to society. That also goes against our Constitution.
Not really.
Like 19th Amendment, like that.
We want women back in the kitchen, not being submissive, listening to what we say.
No man
like
actually
no
wants
like
that.
you know, I don't know if you're a man or a woman. Like not to be an asshole, but like guys don't typically want women that are going to embody masculine traits. We don't want that. We want a girl that's going to be a girl. Yeah. Just like we don't want a guy that acts like a girl, we don't want a girl that acts like a man.
So I think that's the problem. Like, why are we defining the ability to vote and the ability to have education as masculine? Like, that does not belong to masculinity. That belongs to like what it means to be intelligent. Like, a person wanting to get intelligent is not a woman who wants to like be masculine. Take an initiative to better like our minds are naturally communicative like entities. It wants to learn. It's literally a muscle. So like, why should we go against their natural like?
They can read in the kitchen.
Order? That literally makes no sense. You just say these clip farming things and you like appeal to only 18-year-old boys. And in 20 years, these will not agree with you anymore. Like that's literally just the case.
Actually, they'll agree even more so once they get into the real world.
I'm sorry?
They'll agree even more so. Okay. Because, again, when I talk about women shouldn't have the right to vote, it's because they don't have to join the selective service, right? They don't have the same responsibilities as men, right? My issue is they have all the authority of men, even more so I would argue, with not the same level of responsibility. So I look at it like, if you're going to go ahead and have all this responsibility, you should be able to have some authority alongside that. And also, vote puts in, let's just be very candid about this. If we had to rely on the one vote, Kamala Harris would be president right now. So, and she mentioned how, you know, guys like me and Andrew Tate kept her from out of the election, so W for that, but from winning. But the vote is what puts in Democrats with their progressive ideologies that allow for more mass migration, for more handouts, for criminal cities, etc.
My question is, you just said, wait, is my mic working?
And the other, I don't know if your mic is on. And the other thing that's also important is that by nature, men are communitarian. So since men are communitarian, they don't have the same understanding of merit, okay? And unfortunately, they apply this into the way that they vote and the way that they view things because yearn for security.
So yeah, I hear everything you're saying, but basically what you just said that rang as a red flag to me is, you said it was like people like you who influence the voting and Donald Trump into office, which like no one is actually happy about that. Like no one's happy about Donald Trump being in office. So like I think you
better
just
than Kamala.
Your own point.
Better than Kamala.
That doesn't mean anything. Better than Kamala. Like children in Gaza are dying. Like inflation is only rising. Like the gap.
And they were sending bombs to Gaza. Remember, October 7th happened under who?
I'm sorry.
October 7th happened under who? Biden.
All right. Well, that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries.
So I think that we should have like learned this from the McCarthy era, like where we accuse our neighbors of like being communists and just like of these monstrous crimes instead of holding our like government to holding our government accountable. Honestly, I think it's totally it's okay. It's your right as an American to believe in and to spread any ideology that you want. I think it's like it's not up to us. At the end of the day, the facts are we are your target audience, not the other way around. So it's not our job to like change your mind as much as it is your job to change ours, which isn't working for a lot of high IQ individuals apparently. But
Actually, the majority of my audience are not college kids. Actually,
well, like I'm saying, when you go on your tours on
it's
college
not my
campuses,
it's not my target audience.
your tours on college campuses at least is what I'm speaking to, like the event that's going on today. But I specifically wanted to speak to like your understanding of using the in group and outer group and ascribed and achieved. Like obviously, no individual is ascribed intelligence. Like a individual is ascribed like race, siblings, etc. But as far as achievements, like intelligent is the act of having intelligence is an achievement in itself. So you being a man, you wasn't ascribed this platform. You worked for it. You went to school. You got it. So you achieved it. And many other women do that. Now, why aren't we able to do that? I think the facts are we don't like to, especially people of like progressive ideology. We don't like to talk about it as much. But for so many years, actually weren't given the same opportunities that men were given. So there was an inequality in between like in group, outer group, what they could.
What's the argument?
A government.
What's the argument?
I'm saying that your argument is all based on it's not facts as much as it opinions based, and it's like still based in 1803 versus like we're in 2026 and actually do have the opportunity to have many of the opportunities and outperform you in the things that you do. Like Candace Owens, for example, like that's one of your peers and she outperforms you. So I think it's totally possible. Like this whole myth that men are born You have nothing.
We make different content, significantly different content.
You guys talk about social issues. You talk about. You guys are in the same space.
That we are not.
You're in the same space.
We make significantly different content.
You guys were literally.
She has a different She has a different base than I do. We talk about completely different things.
Yeah. So because you attack 18-year-olds and she attacks.
Okay. What is your actual argument?
That was
Formulate your argument. What is your?
I gave you so many arguments. You didn't respond to any of them. I talked about ascribed and achieved. I said about the difference between in group, out of group. I spoke about communists. I literally gave you 3 points and none you.
You're just like.
None of the which you like actually spoke on. The reason why you keep saying, "Oh wait, the red girl her talk," you talk
because she was heckling. Because she was heckling the whole time. So I was like, "What do you got to say?"
It's clip farming. Like you came to Ohio University expecting to talk to a whole bunch of angry students, but we actually talk about that's real. So you want the angry people to come up here and like kind of yell at you and
no, because they walk. Here's the thing: they walk by and they heckle, and I say, "Well, what do you got to say?" And they can't say anything.
That's not the reason. That's not the reason at all. The reason is because like drama sells. This conversation.
Okay, let's go through this one by one. Let's go through this one by one. What am I wrong about?
I'm sorry, the in group, outer group, achieved, ascribed. Like intelligence isn't just like you weren't born. They're like, yeah, Myron Gaines. Like you are an intelligent human being. Like no, like you worked for it, and so many other women worked for it as well.
Here's the thing. With men, we have to become successful. With it's elective. Okay, a woman can choose if she wants to be a career woman or a mom or be an entrepreneur or whatever. We don't have the same.
Men have the opportunity to do that now. Can now actually provide just as much to the household as men. So if you want to be a stay-at-home father, you can do that.
That doesn't work. Here's the thing.
She brings up a great point. So the concept is simple. A lot of men look at women as people that can be side pieces, but the same issue men run across is the same issue women run across, which is they don't always guarantee themselves to find a rich man. You're going to have to become a gold digger. And a lot of these men can't find those people because you're going to have to submit to that woman's rule. Which is why a lot of people like independence. They like depending on themselves because they don't like being told, make me food in the kitchen by a woman. And then if you deny it, you get dumped. And then now you're homeless. Not all men have that option either. A lot of men think that's paradise. But a lot of the times, the people they're going to have to pick are usually the type they don't like or are not interested in, the same way men are fat and ugly to some of these women. And that's not an attractive appeal, as well as misogynist and disgusting as a human. Which is why a lot of the times when they have to look for women, they find the same issue women look into, because all the people who are successful are usually very sour or angry or very controlling people and exploit you. This is why independence and equality gave a lot of women freedom of choice, and that allowed them to pick their men, which picking their men then allowed them to pick sometimes the poor man or the man that equals them, and now they both have to work because they both have goals in life. Not everyone wants to submit to this patriarchal norm where you have to depend on someone for your livelihood. So oftentimes, when men say, "Oh, women can just pick to live at home or just pick to be beautiful," that's a very close-minded tunnel vision perspective on what is actually happening. Since not all women can just sleep with a most beautiful looking man with the most beautiful internal perspective on life. A lot of those men are often low in stock, low quantity. And the people that do find those people consider themselves very, very lucky, which is why they brag about those men because they're very sweet and they're also successful and they want to take care of their significant other. And sometimes when they get dumped, they don't have to go homeless because, again, that characteristic of taking care of someone even though they dumped you is very rare. Because a lot of times people be spiteful and go, oh, this person should be grateful to me. Who cares if they go homeless or who cares about them? And that's the biggest fear a lot of women and men have when you're dating someone or with someone and you expect them to love you forever and then they cheat on you or they just decide to leave you for a random person out of nowhere. And now your entire world's flipped upside down and you have to essentially go looking for a spouse and just sell your body essentially to the next highest bidder. Independence is giving you freedom to pick your own person and even be alone. And the privilege of being alone means you don't have to live with your family or live in a halfway house or homeless shelter until you can find someone to pick you up and sleep with you because you might be, again, very insecure due to the fact of wealth insecurity, shelter insecurity, and now you're insecure physically because now you think you're not good enough. You're selling yourself like a slave in that mindset, which is why independence and equality meant so much to women. A lot of men saying men can't do the same is exactly what women were saying, but again, they get made fun of. Maybe you're just ugly, maybe you're just dumb, maybe you just don't know how to submit, maybe you just don't know how to make your own money. It's the same exact perspective because equality means they'll suffer, but it also means a lot of them will thrive. That's the insecurity a lot of these patriarchal men have is when women start to thrive and succeed for themselves, it scares men because now they are the ones that look at the world in a perspective as women, but that's not the gender perspective, it's a humane perspective, which oftentimes a lot of men are saying that women are scared and women are victimized because they say you can't just do that, is the same mentality women say, which means when you finally uplifted women, they would tell you directly how it is. And because of that, they oftentimes accidentally snitch on themselves as men that this isn't the world you think it is, right? Like a lot of men out here probably look very beautiful to a lot of these women, but they don't know that. And on top of that, you're just going to get exploited potentially. And now you're essentially selling your body and your labor, which it looks like men want kitchen cookers, cleaners, and people to sleep with, to your highest quality is now just that. Not every woman wants a man that just does that. They want a man that's independent, free thinking, and also supports them back because sometimes women need a time off. And sometimes women lose their job and now they're supporting a whole human out of nowhere. And they don't like that mentality. They like security because if I take care of you, you take care of me. It's a partnership. But if you are taken care of by someone, then that's a matriarchy versus a patriarchy, which is a woman dominated household or lifestyle versus a man dominating lifestyle, which are both the same in perspective. They're just opposites on the spectrum. So they operate the same. They're equal and oppressing and exploitative, but the measure a lot of you guys think of is the one that's privileged, which is the one you find a very beautiful sugar mama for a man, and that sugar mama's paying for everything. She's a pay pig for you, buys you stuff. You're living luxurious, and she even takes care of you even after you get dumped by her because she loves you so much as a human being. She doesn't want you to go homeless. She doesn't want you to go starving or die. She's gonna take care of you, which is a matriarchy, which is sometimes sweet and beautiful, but that's also the patriarchy some women see, which is why they protect it a lot. Because my man dumped me, in that mentality, if I was a woman, if my man dumped me, at least I'm still taken care of because he's a real man and he made sure I was okay before I found a new man. Now that's flipped over is my woman dumped me, at least she took care of me and she helped me find a job or a new place and she actually loves me, which is again a very, very rare case of survival because that's not as common as you think it is. It is very rare. It is something that not a lot of people get to experience and is a very rare privilege. It's a lottery in dating. So when you reach equality, independence allows you to walk away from a relationship and not go homeless and stay safe. So remember, a lot of these guys are snitching on their culture because what they say can be applied in reverse, but they can't see it because they're blindsided by the fact that they're living in profound privilege, that a lot of men will essentially support their bigotry, and they just tell them to just buy your woman or look for specifically the women that are selling themselves like pretty much sex slaves or kitchen slaves. Um, Equality is scary in a world where you're going to have to acknowledge the inhumane conditions that put you both on a level that you have to depend on an individual person rather than the government taking care of the systemic oppressive measures, which is why a lot of people are arguing between genders or race instead of arguing against the exploitative nature of the United States and the exploitative nature of most governments that want you to essentially submit to not only government but submit to your household, which is usually a patriarchy because men again rule the world and it's pretty much how it runs. The ones that are able to be lucky enough to find a woman that truly cares for them and loves them is a matriarchal world, which I believe in because sometimes it is exploitative. But women, so far from my study, have been very sweet and kind. So the understanding of who is right and who is wrong when discussing this in gender, both are wrong because both can be cruel. That's equality. You can find a very mean woman, you can find a very mean man. You can find an exploitative woman, you can find an exploitative man. But the conditions of which allow them to exploit you come from the government. Which then, if you don't have an exploitative government, you're just talking about dating. And dating isn't a big issue in a world where you're not exploited because now everyone just has a personal preference in their dating life. It's not cruel because now if she kicks you out, you have a place to go. It's supported by government. You have your own apartment. You have your own potential job prospect. And now you're not oppressed. You're just sad because you got dumped, which is much more appealing to humane conditions, which a lot of the times women fight for because, again, those policies are something that benefit women and men, but recently has been something that men are starting to wake up to, which means women are ahead of the curve when it comes to progressive value because humanity evolves in the upward stage of constantly aiming for the most humane because it's a biological thing to be is humane, a human being, and therefore to be a human being is to be kind to another human in accordance to survival and they don't get exploited for slavery. That's why we have wars over slavery, it's why we have wars over exploitative governments, and we want to establish a government that actually cares for us like a human being.
Yes,
that doesn't work.
That
It
doesn't
doesn't
work for
work.
you and your morality, but that can work for many other Americans.
Most women are not going to accept a stay-at-home dad. It's just not real.
Okay.
It's a minority.
But it's possible.
It's significant. Just because it's possible doesn't mean it's probable. And this is like
possible.
progressive talk. Oh, it's possible. It's possible. It doesn't mean that it's probable. More than likely, most women are not going to accept a guy that wants to be a stay-at-home dad.
And I can say the
Again,
same-
you're making an
I
argument
can
for
honestly
a
say the
small
same about-
percentile. I'm telling you
I can say the
how
same
things
about your
operate in
argument.
generalities, and then you're coming in and giving like exceptions.
I could say the same about your argument as it pertains to, like, you teach the college students that they have to become this certain man, and honestly, a lot of don't want the man that you want them to become, and it's clear because you're 40 years old with no family. Like, it's everything that you have no family, you're not married. Like, literally everything that these college boys will want, you don't have. Like, you literally won't have. You literally won't have.
Now,
And I don't mean that as an insult, I truly don't, but I'm just like, in fact, in actuality, a lot of American men, by the age of 40, they want a home, they want a dog, they want a marriage. You don't have any of that, so why should they trust you? Why should they listen to you? We made that same mistake with Trump, and you still never gave me that argument.
Okay, so I'll be honest. I don't know if you're a dude or a chick.
That does not matter.
But let's
Like, we
assume
can
that
still
you're
have
a chick,
conversation.
even though I don't think so. Right? Pick who they have sex with. Would that be fair to say?
Sorry, can you say that one more time?
Women select who they have sex with, right?
I
like
believe all individuals select who they have sex with. Yeah.
Not really. We control who has sex
true.
because the women are the gatekeepers of
Wait,
sex.
so the man here, they're just not controlling who they have.
Okay, we got a
sex
dude here, so he doesn't know this. Okay, so I'll explain this. Women are the gatekeepers to sex, okay? Men are the gatekeepers to relationships. Women don't f every single guy that comes alongside, that comes in and says, gonna get laid. Just like I'm not gonna marry every girl that comes by and says, I wanna get married.
That's
What you don't
because of
understand
social
is,
here. That's because of social action.
well, you should know this actually.
You guys have been taught to do that since the 1700s. In the 1800s and even the early 1900s, women were forced to be in the kitchen. They didn't have an opportunity to be
That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking
to go
about.
do what they want to do.
Because you're trying to make an authority claim and saying like, well, you're not married, so you can't talk about this. I'm
No,
trying to
I'm
explain
not.
to
No,
you.
I'm not.
I'm trying to
literally
explain
not.
to you
By
that
the
a
way, you're
man's
beautiful.
value, okay, a man's value is based on building a name, building a legacy, then a woman gets the privilege of sharing that last name.
That's tradition.
Okay.
That's not
So that's how
actuality
it.
anymore.
That's how.
not what a lot of women want.
Can you stop interrupting?
That's
Like this is
tradition.
painful.
That's tradition.
Can you stop interrupting? Like
It's
this is crazy.
tradition.
This
It's
is
literally
absolutely
tradition.
ridiculous. You're just yapping, and you're not like letting me respond.
I'm not. everything that you have to say is like fallacy and ignorance. Like it's all tradition. We are in 2026. Like it is not what you were born into 40 years ago. Like this is literally 2026.
Yeah, like again,
Okay, go ahead.
men select who gets married, select who gets sex. For you to sit there and say, well, you're not married, so you can't talk, that's absolutely ludicrous because we don't play by the same set of rules. The measurement of success for a man is not the same measurement of success for a woman. It's a woman's job to get married. It's a man's job to be successful and then marry who he wants. That's how it goes, okay?
Again, very conservative, very old school thinking. She had a lot of valid points. A lot of his perspectives were again predicated or pretty much standing on the entire point of that people of manhood dictate the future. Saying women control sex or control relationships as a whole is naive. He's living by victimhood status, which victimhood status gets him a lot more support from the men who might not be as lucky, and his target audience are sad, broken men, men who just got dumped, men who don't understand why they're losing in life, and he takes advantage of that to give them a small little group, which is the patriarchal conservative sphere, which oftentimes is the biggest group, but is dying out due to progressive values. And he teaches them how to keep the perspective of patriarchy alive. That's why his target audience is usually vulnerable people because people doing good in life, like this woman said, a lot of the times as they get older, they will not agree with his misogynist talking points because I like to say they get civilized or taught humanity through the woman they love, and the woman they love will let them know what they're saying hurts their feelings, and because they love them and care for them, they'll listen to them and change their perspective because of it. If they dump them and find a new person, then they're looking for an echo chamber or a yes woman who will do anything they say. And this applies to both same-sex relationships and the traditional, what's it called? There's a name for it, but the traditional relationships of man and woman. It all applies the same way. Respect, dignity, love for one another. Every human is worthy of love and respect. No matter how much you think they're lesser or inferior, you will find people who think like you, and you find someone productive. You found a partner because you both think about each other and you care for each other and you help build upon each other and you climb up. If you cannot find someone that helps build you up, then you're talking down on them and you want property. You want objectification of the woman, objectification of the man, objectification of a human being. And that's just a product that you want to mold into whatever you want. If you want that, you're going to have to find someone who likes being molded, which a lot of times women don't like and men don't like. Because if a man finds someone that does that, they get annoyed that they're just talking to themselves and someone who says yes all the time sometimes. So reverse can happen as well. Women don't like men that just constantly submit and don't tell them the truth or tell them how the world works. But at the same time, women like to be supported and told they're right and they're beautiful and they're smart. I think a lot of women are very intelligent people, but the insecurity comes from a lot of the men just putting them down all the time. This is why there's a huge fight about it, because a lot of these men don't see that perspective until they truly find the woman they love and care for, and then therefore they're finally able to understand the perspective and see them as a human being. So the old is fading away and the new is starting to kick in because as you start to fall in love, care for one another, you're going to start to hear them as a human. That's the consequence of a humane society that's starting to build. And hopefully it continues to grow because we will eventually start to see how men are unfortunately blindsided by this huge system because it does benefit them, even though they see themselves as someone who's not as rich or wealthy, they are still technically in a position of privilege. So that discussion is something that I have a lot. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I do a lot of coverage on news as well as societal changes and society's conversation on exploitation. So don't forget to leave a like and subscribe.